This is brandIt. You'll just be chatting. You'll tell me what your issues are, and I will try and
Hello,
be your
brand
brand.
stars. How are you today? My name is Julia Oku-Jacks of Julia Jacks Consulting, and it's my pleasure to bring you yet another episode of brandIt. We've been talking about the custodian of the brand and the midwife of the brand, and it's been a little bit controversial. I don't shy away from controversy, but I'll come back to it. I want to land something today for you, and it's just about branding. What is a brand? At its very basic level, a brand is when you take a piece of metal made into a certain shape and you put that mark on something or someone. That shows it's a distinctive mark. It shows that that mark makes that thing or that person belong to someone. You know, I really do hate using that, but that is where the origin of branding came from. Now, even in our traditional in our cultures, the people who have scarifications, and that shows them as coming from certain ethnic groups. There's some people who have certain hairstyles or even modes of dressing, and that shows them as coming from certain ethnic groups or certain ethnicities, certain parts of Africa, and that brands them. So essentially, what is branding? Branding is whatever you do to make you distinctive. If you recall the very first episode of brandIt, I talked about the car hire services that providers of car hire services that I'd see coming out from the departures arrivals hall from our local airport here, and all of them were saying, "Come here, come here, come here," and they're all blended into uniformity. For me, nobody stood out, you know, and in that way, you can say branding was not achieved in that way. But if branding was achieved, somebody would have stood out one way or the other. It may not be the name, it may be where how they position themselves, it may be the smile, it may be anything. But let's go into what branding is. Branding itself is a very holistic process. It's a process that you should hand over to professionals. It's a process of creating a distinct, please, distinct and process is not done in a day. It's not done with a quick logo. A distinct identity for a business, a product, a service, or a personal brand. And that process, that distinction has to be very clear in the mind of its target audience and the consumers. At the very basic level, a logo helps, but it's not the brand. A logo is a visual identifier which, along with other intrinsic and extrinsic factors and elements, help create a brand. Colors help, but it's not the brand. A name helps, it's not the brand. Your media presence and activity help, but these are all the extrinsic exterior of the brand identity. So, Julia, what then determines the brand identity? All of these things I've mentioned, they certainly help, but also your aesthetics, your personality, your brand personality, your tone of your brand. Yeah, a brand does have a tone, you know. Your brand story, what's behind what you're doing? Why do you do what you do? It's not that big why that we keep asking ourselves, but why did you start? A story that can resonate with another human being. The personality, are you a bubbly brand? Are you a serious brand? Are you a caring brand? Are you a nerdy brand? Or do you take nerdy things? There's somebody I follow on Instagram. He's a young man and he takes serious things, nerdy things, tech things that you think that someone like me would not understand. And he breaks them down into simple bits that I would understand. So uh, that is a brand as well. That is somebody who has the ability to explain things in a very serious things in a very simple way, and that's his personality. He's a teacher. Even customer service, your values, and how you present and price your products or services. They all come into making the brand. I'd like to tell you quickly about two, let me call it a tale of two Ankara sellers. Ankara fabric, that's the fabric we like to call African print. Now, I, as a woman, I have to, I would buy fabrics quite frequently. And there was once I reached out to, not at the same time, but to a fabric seller. She doesn't make them, she just sells them. And I asked her, what do you have? And she not just sent me what she had, she must have sent me like 30 different. So I said, okay, let's start reducing them by color. I don't want black, I don't want brown. And she took those ones away and said, do you have this? I said, okay, I have this, I have this, I have this. And then she took them away and then she asked me, is there anything else you'd like? This one would complement this would complement this. And she showed me more. And that's her personality, very helpful. I know she wanted to make a sale, but she was very helpful in the process. Now, there's somebody else, another seller of Ankara fabrics or fabrics, that I asked specifically. I reached out to the person and I asked, do you have this XYZ in these colors? And she said, I have this one, I have that one, I have that one, that other one I don't have. And she ended the conversation. Now, if it were you, who would you sell from? Who would you buy from? Sorry, you know, and that's up to you. You will decide for yourself. So ultimately, what your customers think and say about your brand is the reality. And if you never ever invest or get a professional like me and my company to create a strategic brand identity for you, you're still going to be a brand. Because if you're a customer with poor values, with no integrity, with bad customer service, your products are poor, that will ultimately affect how your customers view you. And remember what I said, customers will vote with their feet. So one day they might have people who had thoughts, oh yeah, this is a good one, let's try this one. And after that, boof, word of mouth spreads and nobody wants to touch you. you know and that's still a brand. A brand is not always a good brand. You can have a bad brand, you can have an indifferent brand. So a brand is the impression that pops into your customers' minds when they hear your name, your product's name, your company name. The brand is based on the feelings that they have, not what you have. You can tell me I'm the best, but what do I think about you? Because you're not buying from yourself. You're not patronizing yourself. So it's based on the feelings that I would have towards you or you would have towards me, based on the experiences you've had, and sometimes the experiences that other people have had that they have told, that they have shared. Very, how we share things on social media. Things spread like wildfire. So that's why your branding strategy and your brand management plan are so important. Now, that's quite a lot for you to take in for today. And we'll continue next week and we'll dig into this with more examples that would help you really know what do you have to do. But before you go and pay money for that logo or that beautiful website, think through your values, think through your story, think through your personality, think through even the colors. But these things can change. Your colors can change, your logo can change, your personality depends on who you are. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to interface with customers, please look for a business that helps you, or look for someone who can be the face of it for you. That's it for this week, Brand Stars. I'll see you next week. Take care and keep shining in all you do.